I do want to briefly talk about Biden and Harris's popularity or lack thereof. Uh, this is in the Hill. At 28% approval, say goodbye to Kamala Harris being plan B to an aging Biden. I think that the left's response to that is like, no shit, and we could have told you that 2 years ago, right? Apologies for the ad if you guys can hear that. She was supposed to be the one-term president's successor, the vice president who would take the torch from a, by then, 80-something Joe Biden and carry on the administration's agenda while becoming the first woman and the first woman of color to capture the White House as the nation's 47th president. But as things stand now, one has to wonder how Kamala Harris even remains on the ticket in 2024, regardless of who the nominee might be. A USA Today Suffolk University poll finds that just 28% of voters, less than 3 in 10, thanks for the math conversion there, Hill, that really helps, approve of the job Harris is doing. For context, that's 10 points below her boss. 38% approve, 58% disapprove. For more context, Harris was at 46% approval and 40% disapproval upon entering office, per USA Today Suffolk. Harris's struggles are primarily twofold. She's practically invisible. It's been 153 days since her last sit-down interview with a major broadcast news entity in the form of NBC's Lester Holt. You may recall that that was the beginning of the end of the administration's confidence in her ability to handle even the most basic of questions. Do you have any plans to visit the border? Holt asked, quote, at some point, you know, we are going to the border, Harris replied before oddly repeating herself as if a short circuit had occurred. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border, we've been to the border. Quote, you haven't been to the border, Holt correctly noted. And I haven't been to Europe, Harris snapped before laughing. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. That was one of the cringiest interviews I have ever seen. And it was a reminder of why Harris is just not a good politician. And I say that objectively, you guys, like I subjectively can't stand her because I so disagree with her politics. And I find her to be a hollow, empty husk that allows herself to be filled in by corporate donors and whatever path leads her to power. She's like a Hillary Clinton. She'll say anything to get the presidency. I don't think she really means any of the positions that she takes. I think she's a complete hollow husk. I don't think she really believes in jack shit. I think she goes wherever the political winds take her. And that is not something voters like, and it is something voters recognize. They can see when you're being fake, right? I think it's far better. I think a voter is much more forgiving of a politician taking a position they disagree with than a politician that is very obviously like playing games and lying to you and trying to manipulate you for your vote, right? It's kind of like, I don't know if any of you, like, I remember as a kid when I'd be like playing some, checkers or whatever the fuck, or poker or whatever with my family. Like, one thing that I really fucking hated, even when I was quite young, is when I could tell that an adult was letting me win. And like that, I think, is how voters kind of respond to Harris when she tries to like so obviously fake her way into earning your vote. It's like the Hillary, I like hot sauce, or Pokemon go to the polls. It feels so fake and so manufactured, and like it clearly came from a dozen consultants and political strategists who sat down and figured out what line are we going to use. You know what I mean? It feels so fake and like patronizing that I think voters are turned off by that even more than they are turned off by a position they disagree with. And Harris seems to fall victim to that trap, right? But of course, again, we could have told them this how long ago? I mean, she didn't even make it to Iowa, you guys. Voters told us what they thought of Kamala Harris. She didn't even make it to Iowa. So, Andrew fucking Yang made it farther than she did, you guys. And they thought she was going to be a popular vice president. I mean, I almost can't even believe that. I almost cannot even believe that the Democrats were naive or ignorant or stupid enough to think that she was going to be remotely popular. It almost feels like they threw her in to fail on purpose. So, and it's obvious that there's no solution to this because, as the article points out, she hasn't been in the public spotlight. But when she is in the public spotlight, she ends up having worse approval. It's like Hillary Clinton. The definition of a bad politician is that the more people see of you, the less they like you. That's kind of what that means in a more objective sense than just I don't like her, right? So I just wanted to note that this is it's both obvious in a big picture sense because Kamala has never been likable or popular among voters, but it's also obviously got to do with the reconciliation bill and their gutting of their own platform. Guys, when you run on popular policy for 10 or 15 years, which is what the Democrats have been doing with a lot of these policy provisions that have been taken out of the reconciliation bill. I won't call it Build Back Better, by the way, you guys. If I'm calling it reconciliation because that's just too cringy of a title. I'm not going to call it that, but that is what I'm talking about. It's the reconciliation bill. When you start gutting, I mean, there were like 6 or 7 provisions, major provisions in that bill that had 70+% approval. These are almost all positions that Democrats, not just lefties, by the way, Democrats pretty universally have run on across the country for 10 or 15 years. They've been saying that they're going to let Medicare negotiate better drug prices since like what, 2006 or something like that. So when you continually run on this stuff and then voters look back over the last decade and they go, we have twice given you as much power as we can give you. We've given you both houses of Congress and we've given you the presidency. And actually, in the case of when Obama took over, the Democrats also were actually fairly well positioned at the state level, which is rare. So voters look at that and they go, we gave you all this power at all these different levels. And what'd you give us? Jack shit. You did fuck all. And then you wanted our vote again. And then we gave you power again. We gave you both houses of Congress and we gave you the White House. And what did you do? You gutted your own bill. You couldn't get your own party to fall in line with your party's policy positions, right? Your platform. Well, how do you expect voters to respond to that? I mean, it's amazing to me that all these consultants sit in DC and can't seem to figure that out. Voters don't care about bipartisanship, you guys, like Joe Biden apparently does. Voters don't care if Tom Cotton voted for your bill, okay? They don't care if Lindsey Graham voted for your bill. What they care about is, did your bill help my life? Did my electing you to power actually tangibly improve my life or not? And with the Democrats, the answer is always no. But they always have some sort of fucking excuse, like the rotating villain, or you just didn't give us enough seats. Just give us a couple more Senate seats. Do you guys remember in Georgia what the narrative was? You know, in order to save voting rights, you have to vote for the Democrats. Are they going to save voting rights? No, they're not even going to fucking fight the filibuster. It is so pathetic and feckless. So, part of me is like, why am I covering this? Because it's so obvious, but it's also obviously like relevant and worth covering, right? Democrats have once again floundered their opportunity. They have once again taken power and done absolutely nothing with it. And now I have no doubt that when they get absolutely railroaded next year, that they will turn around and blame the left. I have no doubt they're going to get absolutely killed, you guys. They're going to lose both chambers, almost certainly. And then they'll turn around and blame the left for their inaction, right? And as critical as I am of the squad for not wielding power, they have at least taken the right position on these fucking policy proposals, right? That are wildly popular. It's the Democratic Party as an institution that has said, no, we don't care about that enough to do it. Now, please vote for us. What kind of fucking person thinks that's going to work? What kind of person thinks that's going to work? It's insane. It's absolutely and completely insane. So Harris and Biden seeing their poll numbers absolutely tank, and that is, deserved. And this is what happens when you force very unpopular politicians into powerful seats and then do nothing with your power. It really does not take a political strategist to tell you that, does it? So at this point, I would like